I got men in this unit I trust. And they're saying things happen to them that they can't explain.
Come with us. They have built a conservatory for us.
Go, go, go!
It's coming no matter what we do.
The new world altered everyone. Adapt or die. It was as simple as that.
Oh, I want me some Oats Studios oats meal. Let's do this.
Welcome to Cordkillers. Our mission to report the information from the front lines of the cord cutting revolution so you, my friends, know what you need to know to be able to watch what you want, when you want, where you want, on whatever you want. I'm Tom Merritt. The Hall to Brian Brushwood's oats.
Yeah, man, let's talk about my oats. Those in particular, that's from visionary director Neil Blomkamp of District 9 and Chappie fame. This is a brand new channel called Oats Studios that promises that he's going to put together, quote, experimental films, which I guess experimental is code for they're going to take some risks that you wouldn't get from more mainstream stuff. But if you can go ahead and subscribe right now, there's fewer than 3,000 subscribers on it on YouTube, but I'm curious what it is. It sounds like there's another element of it that it'll be partially distributed and there'll be purchasable elements through Steam. But I mean, I think he's a very talented director. I'd be really curious to see what he does with all this.
Yeah, I like the idea of him having sort of a playground where he feels safe. Just like, I just want to make this and put it out. And I don't want to have to convince a bunch of people that it's okay and we can get the distribution and you know, have that channel for that. It kind of has a modern day Toho feel in a way.
Yeah, I could see that. By the way, Right, you Planeswalker is always throwing shade in the chat about the quality of experimental shorts, what that means. I think, you know, keep in mind that Alive in Joburg was what he did before District 9, and we had District 9 because of that. I think if we get more Alive in Joburg type things, then I'll be okay with that.
You know, there's one man that I know of, Brian, who likes television, experimental things, monsters, and comic books.
It's me. I mean, that's why we're here on.
Okay, there's two men. There's two men that I know.
Oh, got it.
Ron Richards is joining us for today's Cordkillers.
Hello, yes, I'm Brian's brother from another mother.
There you
my
go.
Love of monsters and comics, and I'm excited for Oat Studios. This is great. This reminds me of the kind of stuff I'd hoped George Lucas would do after he sold Disney, after he sold Lucasfilm to Disney, because he was going to go just make experimental art films, but we never. Then we got Red Tails.
Well, yeah, but
There you go, George. There you go. Jump on in.
He also George Lucas at least warned us. We're like, oh, I'm going to make them. You'll never see them. I'm not subjecting.
It's
Oh, that's
like,
right. I
like
forgot
Prince.
about
He's going to
that.
have a
He's
vault
like,
of
I'm
stuff
not
that we
making
will
them
never
for
see.
you. I'm making them for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big old middle finger. Taking this ball and going home. Arrgh.
But didn't we lose Blomkamp for years working on the Halo movie that never happened? Am I remembering that correctly?
That was allegedly the case.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest, as much as I love District 9, the negative buzz that I heard surrounding Elysium and Chappie prevented me from seeing it. But I have no doubt that he's still very, very talented.
Yeah, I had Chappie on a list that I never quite got to because I like everyone in it and I like robots, but yeah, I heard similarly not as good. But you got to believe somebody who does something as great as District 9 has got more great stuff in them. And watching this trailer, it reminded me. Remember the old BMW, The Drive? Remember those little films around BMWs? Yeah. Those were fun, like little short movies. Like I'll watch those.
Yeah, no, and they actually had some pretty good stuff in there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got lots of good stuff to get to today, cord killing wise, starting with Verizon's plans to throw another option your way for watching TV on the internet in the primary target. So Verizon CEO Lowell McAdam was speaking and mentioned that the acquisition of Yahoo, if you didn't know, Verizon is in the process of closing their acquisition of Yahoo, should end mid-June. By the end of June, Verizon expects to own Yahoo. They then plan to combine it with AOL, which they already own. They will call that subsidiary Oath, and they intend, this is why it's on Cordkillers, to test out an over-the-top service. Now, this would be different than Verizon Wireless's Go 90. This would come out of Yahoo AOL because that's where programmatic advertising is. So they probably feel like, okay, we got a bunch of content in those two companies and a bunch of advertising tech. Let's make an actual streaming service to compete with Sling TV and YouTube TV and Hulu TV. Verizon's also paying the NFL $21 million for the rights to this year's regular season game between the Baltimore Ravens and Jacksonville Jaguars in London on September 24th. You remember Yahoo did a London streaming game before. My guess is they will be doing so again as part of Verizon later this year.
Man, so on paper, this is all the right ingredients. That should be something that, of course, we're all cheering for a credible over-the-top network and an easy alternative that breaks us away from the entrapment of traditional contracts. But I got to tell you, this is just, we're so flush with promises right now and so thin on delivery of those promises. And that's universally. Like, we have so many almost solutions that, I don't know, it's, in theory, this should be very big, and I'm probably under enthusiastic for it unfairly, just because we've seen so many similar promises. Is that just me, Ron, or are you feeling that as well?
No, I think you're spot on. I think in addition to there just being I'm at the point where there's too much to watch, right? There's too many options out there. But even more so coming from a conglomerate like Verizon, where I can already watch TV via a Fios account that I may have gotten the credentials for. I can already watch on Go90, right? And then you've got Yahoo and AOL, who are both, kind of aging properties who have been unsuccessful in streaming video. I mean, did anybody watch that last season of Community that was on Yahoo?
No. And that's including, I know a lot of people who are really excited about it.
Yeah. I watched one episode and the buffering was so bad that wouldn't stay. Like the quality was so low.
You're tarring Verizon with Yahoo's feathers here, or their tar anyway.
But the part of it is that they're buying that tar, right? And so
I think what Verizon wants to do is create an over-the-top service. They've got AOL, they've got Yahoo for advertising, right? Yahoo is still an advertising powerhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. But is advertising content? I mean.
No, but it's how you monetize the content. And if you get the eyeballs in the tower, you use the Verizon networking, you use the Verizon broadband expertise to make the service work. You don't ask Yahoo to do it.
But okay, right. But so see, Yahoo coming into the mix, I feel like is make this more complex, because you've got this amazing advertising network, both with Yahoo and with AOL, and you've got this amazing robust broadband network, but you've also got agreements and channels and programming with Fios. Why don't they just make Fios could be a YouTube killer?
What if they do?
Right.
I mean, Go90 is supposed to be the YouTube killer, by the way, and it's not.
Except that it's ridiculously hard to watch Go90, and I don't even get what Go90 is. I just set up a Chromecast for my brother-in-law and my niece so they can watch women's soccer on Go90.
It's supposed to be a YouTube killer.
Yeah.
I think what we're going to see is Verizon comes out with, hey, here's VTV. Maybe they won't call it Fios, because Fios is a brand name for fiber delivery, but they'll basically try to trade on, yes, we have TV in lots of different ways. Now you don't even have to have fiber internet from us to get it. Here it is. It's a competitor to YouTube TV, Hulu TV, Sling TV, Dish, or PlayStation View, and our entry is bigger. And what I'm hearing you say, Brian, is that you're tired of all of these options. You just want, wake you when the competition has shaken out the winners.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that actually makes me think that there's an opening right now. If somebody had a good enough deal, you could run a campaign. How fascinating would it be for a service to just run a campaign called like #QuitEverything, where it's like, finally it came in and it's like, yeah, you could pay us one check and you can have all the crap you care about. But instead, I don't believe that's possible. We're going to continue to get this balkanized, carved out, you get this and that. And so you end up having to order 3 different services, but I still hold on to the dream.
I mean, the problem is that so many of these deals are so old or have such limitations around them or whatever that you will, at least at this point, I mean, I hope for the day, Brian, like you said, when you sign up to one service, but there's not a situation where everything I want to watch is available from the same person. I recently I enthusiastically signed up for YouTube TV. Right?
And of course, what we're doing is we're getting dangerously close to describing traditional cable television.
Look, you guys. I know when Kimmy Schmidt was let out of the tank, and she's like, "There's too much sunlight. There's too much openness. I just want to go back to my small place." Like it's a little bit Stockholm syndrome happening. Like there's too much open competition. There's too many choices. I just want to go back to my safe monopoly. But give it a little bit. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The irony is not lost on me. I am very, very aware. But I think there is the
uncomfortable part, right? This is what open competition looks like. You don't have one solution, especially at the beginning of an open marketplace. You have everybody jumping in and providing pieces of stuff, and it's going to take a year or two, I guess, for us to figure out like, oh, that's the feature we love. Oh, nobody thought of that feature. Look at what Verizon's got over there. Oh, now that's on Sling TV as well. And then they start to consolidate, and I guarantee in 5 years, one of us will be complaining like, the problem is all these over-the-top services are exactly the same, and, there's just no difference between them anymore. You get everything with everything. What's the point? And
for the record, Dave82 in the Diamond Club chat room says, isn't Amazon Prime pretty darn close to Brian's dream? Yes, I would say out of everything right now, except for live complicates stuff, but in terms of just watching any high quality stuff, like I like just buying the series and not ever having to see an ad. And, Prime's got a good library. And of course, through that, grab Stars, you can grab Showtime and all that other stuff.
There's a stealth plan where Amazon becomes the winner of this whole thing, because like you say, we don't think of them as having live, but they do have Showtime Live. If you add Showtime.
I mean, and Amazon's been
in the
dying.
UK, where they're adding on channels, they have Discovery Live, because Discovery isn't necessarily available in other places. Like, they could start figuring out ways to get more of those kind of deals. Suddenly, they're a really elegant option.
And Amazon's been dying to get into sports. They've been like the rights to this London game that they have. Didn't Amazon do a deal about tennis or something like that? I remember hearing like for some reason they believe that sports are a way to get legitimacy in these kind of platforms, and those sports deals are just so archaic and so kind of hard to navigate. And when a window opens up, you're going to see Amazon, you're going to see whether it's this Verizon, Yahoo, AOL, Oath kind of thing go aggressive as the contracts around NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, hockey, all that stuff start to break down from where they have been for the past 10 years.
All right, folks, we're going to take a moment here to remind you that we have a campaign going on to be able to take our other spinoff show of Cordkillers, Spoiler in Time, and make it easy to just watch the parts that are about the show that you're watching right now.
Yeah, man. Basically, we're going to unlock all this content. We're going to set it up so that you can go through any of the library shows that we've talked about and you can experience it, because we understand we live in an offline world where you don't necessarily see everything at the same time as everyone else. And we want this project to make it possible for you guys to watch right along with us. How far away are we from that goal, Bryce?
It's 119, I think is the math.
Patrons?
119 patrons.
So we're looking for 1850, and we are at 1731. Listen, if you guys have been enjoying Cordkillers, if you think we save you $1 or so, just $1 an episode, man, you could be in this. If every time we hang out for an hour to 2 hours every week, you wish that you could buy us a coffee once a month, we'll take it. We'll take that coffee.
Yeah, we'll share the coffee, Brian and I.
Patreon.com/Cordkillers. Thanks so much, guys.
Let's talk about how to watch. All right, we've been hearing about this in dribs and drabs over the course of the year, but the latest sources tell Reuters that Facebook has signed deals with Vox Media, BuzzFeed, ATTN, Group 9 Media, and others to make shows. The new video service from Facebook would have long and short-form content with ad breaks. So there'd be scripted shows that would run your standard half hour, 20 to 30 minutes, and unscripted shows ranging from 5 to 10 minutes long. So more of your YouTube-ish type of content. Facebook is supposedly paying up to $250,000 for the longer shows and between $10,000 and $35,000 an episode for the shorter episodes. Shows will premiere exclusively on Facebook, but run on creators' sites after a period of time. And they were looking at a late July release, but it sounds like they're now pushing that off to fall.
All right. For the record, $35,000 for a unscripted YouTube style thing is an astonishingly large number compared to the both the sponsored posts that I've seen in that and to what's even remotely possible. Even if you pull in a million, I believe to put it in perspective. Tell me if I'm wrong here, Ron, but I believe to hit $35,000 on a single 5 to 10 minute unscripted thing, if you did that just on AdSense, you would have to hit 10 million views before you saw that with AdSense, right?
Yeah, that's about right. That math adds up for me.
Like I'm getting the impression that what they're trying to do is buy market share, that they're not really interested in this actually hitting 10 million views. What they really want to do is they want to make them they're not getting an organically full ecosystem, so they're astroturfing it to an extent, which we've seen folks like Vessel do before. Also, by the way, full disclosure, Scam School is a Group 9 production.
There's your disclosure. That's good. No, but I mean, you're right. I think they're throwing money at their problem, which they can do because they have a lot of it. But the difference between Facebook and a Vessel-like kind of situation is that Facebook has the users. Facebook has the mass. The problem is that they haven't had the content. I'll argue that they haven't had the content because the platform isn't really viewer friendly. And so I'm kind of curious what they're going to do about that. But I was having a conversation about this last week when this news broke, and I can't remember if it was the people I was talking to or someone I was talking to quoted an article, so I apologize I don't have the source, but someone was talking about doing original content programming for Facebook versus, do you want to put resources against making video for Facebook or for YouTube? And somebody said, oh, I'd rather take all my money and put it towards YouTube because that's a service I know people watch with the sound on.
Yes. I'll tell you what, man, Facebook really has a problem. In fact, I don't think I'd put it together until just now. I stopped consuming Facebook at all. I occasionally post there, but I stopped consuming it right around the time they started autoplaying that crap. And it was so transparent that they were trying to push up their video numbers, and I just stopped participating.
Well, now, and that's the other side of the story here, though. $250,000 is not that much for a professionally produced 30-minute television show. It's a nothing for a House of Cards level stuff. So they're obviously not going for that high of a level. They're going for more the reality television show type of production. And if Facebook needs people to turn the sound on, this is the way to do it. You create some content that people start going, hey, this is really good. You should take a look at it.
But where they fell short, and Tom, I think you pointed out there, is that look at that list of studios that they're working with. I put studios but so Vox Media has been trying to get video off the ground. Gavin Purcell just quit Vox to go work with Sarah Silverman. I don't know if you saw that in the news last week, but so their head of video just left again. BuzzFeed has been doing some stuff on YouTube and has gotten some traction, but nothing crazy. Group 9 is probably the best example of people who know how to make content, but ever since and Brian, of course, you're included in that. But ever since the break, the kind of come together of Thrillist and the remnants of the pieces that came together for that, I don't think they're as proven. So those are smaller media sites that don't have a huge track record for making great original content, and you're right. It's more on the reality side.
These are the ones that Reuters has sources to confirm a signed deal with. There are plenty more that have been signed up that aren't mentioned
when you think about it, what the moment Netflix jumped from a place to watch movies to a place to watch original content, what was it? It was House of Cards. It was Kevin Spacey.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
That was the moment. So if Facebook is taking an approach of we're going to dip our toe in the water and we're going to throw a lot of money at these smaller things to see how they do, if they really want people, throw $10 million at it and do a production with a real name that will get people's heads turning.
I don't know, though. I mean, what was the moment when YouTube stopped being a place to watch pirated video and actually watch creators? We take it for granted that it's all these original creators just making stuff on the cheap now. But that was not always the case. That was not always the reality or the perception. So again, I'm just arguing the other side here, but I could see Facebook saying, you know what, we put House of Cards on Facebook. That's overdoing it. That's community on Yahoo doing it. Let's do something that's closer to the type of things that people are talking about and expecting to see and sharing on Facebook. They have a lot of data about what people are looking at on Facebook. My guess is they're going after people and giving money to people that fit that data.
Yeah. Well, and it's solving two problems, because I know for a fact that Vox desperately wants to get into the video content and be known for that, and they haven't been up to this point. They're known for Polygon or for Vox proper or for their other kind of media sites, but they really want to break into video because everyone knows that video is where the actual advertising dollars come from.
I still think that this is all really fascinating. Both the Amazon stuff we were talking about earlier, the Facebook effort here, Twitter's efforts for video. I mean, it's easy to take pot shots at all this stuff from the outside because it's different and it won't obviously work. But if enough of these things catch on, suddenly this model we're talking about with over the top just dies.
And keep in mind, this is something that we've hinted at before. We knew this was coming. Causing a market to burst open is always an ugly endeavor. And we are now reaching the ugliest phase of this endeavor as we, number one, you've got some parties that are interested in running out the clock on their existing long-term agreements with other parties. You've got some people that want to be disruptive and some folks that are content-driven, some that are hardware-driven. And then you have all of the consumers that honestly think they know what they want, but honestly don't. None of us know what we want. And we're all just kind of, I feel it now more than at any point over the 7-year history of the show that we're just waiting, kind of just stuck on hold. A little bit of, we're in Cordkilling Purgatory right now.
Well, go ahead, Ron.
I was going to say, or we're in heaven, or we're in this is what we've always wanted, going back to our earlier point, where there's so many options and so many things that we can do, and so many different,
Well, just keep in mind that Purgatory is a lot nicer than hell. It's halfway to heaven. So, I mean, it's like, I don't mean that as a dig. I mean, we're doing better than we used to do, for sure.
I have a different way of looking at it, and it's not even disagreeing. It's just an entirely different way of looking at it. My feeling is like, we've been on this long boat ride where we're like, one of these days we're going to arrive in cord cutting land. You can do it right now, but there's always shortcomings. And I feel like we just made landfall. And yeah, we don't know exactly which direction to run yet, but we're like, holy crap, we're here. We're on the beach and we're ready to dive in.
We hit Plymouth Rock in the form of Facebook.
That's right.
Yeah, or Plymouth Rock landed on us.
Well, what I'm more curious about is what Facebook is going to do from a product standpoint, because how, am I going to have to load up a browser and watch this in the noise of Facebook.com proper, or are they going to implement, is it going to be an aspect of the app, and can I throw Chromecast on there and watch it up on my TV? And the thing that gets me is about the mention of the rumor of those deals, which is the fact that they'll broadcast exclusively on Facebook for a period and then on the network's websites or whatever. So do I just have to wait and I can watch it on Vox's YouTube channel?
Yeah. No, exactly. And that goes back to what the point Brian made earlier about giving people money for stuff that people just waited and watched elsewhere later.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the most fascinating part of this conversation may have been that when I was making the beach metaphor, I was imagining Vikings landing in Canada, and Ron took it to Plymouth Rock. Just shows you. Different perspective.
Just shows you which one of you is
I don't know what
Canadian.
Yeah. So Tom, were you more like conquering Vikings, and I'm more seeking religious freedom?
Thinking of American gods, which would not end well for any cord cutter. So your metaphor is probably a superior one.
Well, but I don't think we're Puritans, so I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that's true too. All right, let's talk about what to watch. We got all this tech. What we got to watch in Under Surveillance?
It's all about location.
First trailer for the animated Netflix show Castlevania is out. The show arrives July 7th. Y'all excited?
I'm excited that this exists. I'm excited that it's so dialed into a specific audience that I think is great. Unfortunately, I've never gotten terribly into Castlevania.
Yeah. This is someone else's Voltron, essentially.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I'm somebody who deeply loves the Netflix Voltron. It's fantastic.
I do too. I love that Voltron is I watched it on a lark. I was building some IKEA furniture, and I'm like, let me just put this on. I'm like, oh, this is really good. But I do have friends who are like super retro gamer, acolyte, love NES, all that sort of stuff, and I know that they're salivating for this. So
sure.
Again, I played Castlevania, I got it, I know the premise, but I know that there are people who are like, this is exactly what they want, and that's what Netflix is doing, is finding those properties, and it doesn't need to be 50 million people watching it. It can be just enough people to justify it.
Right.
Trailer for Game of Thrones Season 7 came out. The parsing has begun. The crazy theories about people standing in particular positions on maps has been unleashed on the internet, and it arrives on HBO July 16th.
So close. 6 weeks.
For me, the big story about this was that it got, 61 million views in the first 24 hours?
The trailer did?
Yeah, the trailer did, yeah, which is just an insane amount of people watching this trailer.
Yeah, I mean, not without reason. I mean, it's actually it's fairly sparse on plot details, but it does give you, you see Daenerys at the Eyrie with the gates opening, indicating that she's going to begin up in the north or make her way down. There's clues.
Yeah, there's clues all over the place. We won't talk about too many of them, just in case you're keeping yourself, Jeff Canotted for this. Orphan Black final season trailer is out. Orphan Black returns for its last run on BBC America June 10th.
Dude, how excited are you for this, Tom?
I'm super excited for this. I love this show. And the crazy thing about this show is no matter how many times I remind myself of it, Tatiana Maslany just keeps making me forget that she's playing all these people. If you watch this trailer, you're like, oh, here's this person and this person and this person, and realize you've only seen one actor for like a straight minute.
It really, I can't make them all be the same actor. That's amazing.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about what we've been watching. Starting with you, Ron Richards. What kind of television show returns to television have you been hanging out?
All right, you two lovebirds are playing coy. These guys host a podcast called Damn Fine Podcast, where all they do is talk about, first of all, the original set of Twin Peaks episodes, and then the offshoot of Twin Peaks, and now finally you guys are week over week talking about the new Twin Peaks. Can you just tell me how you're enjoying it?
Just mind blowing. It's mind blowingly good. It's crazy. So Twin Peaks has completely consumed my life. It's consumed my life since November, right, Tom? That's when we started. Like it's been.
That's right. It was November when we started the rewatch.
Yeah, exactly.
We didn't start publishing them right away, but that's when we started watching and recording them, all the way up till the week before the return to Showtime.
Right, and I'm so glad we did that, because it's made the return to Showtime, I think, that much more like bountiful, just because it was like so much build up of watching the original series, remembering everything that I loved about it and all that, it was just so much fun to revisit that, and then to have it. And I was trying to explain it to my girlfriend, because she was trying to wrap her head around what this is like, and I was I'm like, imagine something you really, really loved that you never thought you would ever see anything new from again, and then 25 years before you get a bit of new content. And that's why we were so nervous before it started. And luckily we've seen 4 parts, because they're not episodes, they're parts. We've seen 4 parts of this grand 18-part series, and it's at this point it's got me enraptured. And I'm already, when I'm not working on something like work related or project related, my mind is racing with trying to figure out what is going on. But the great thing is that it's David Lynch, and you will never figure it out.
Now, I see that because you love Twin Peaks, and I personally think Twin Peaks is an amazing show, you have been tempering that by watching The Iron Fist and The Get Down.
Well, the problem is that my other podcast I do over at iFanboy, where we talk about comic books and comic book TV shows and movies and things like that, we swore to watch every comic book movie or TV show related. We will watch it and do a podcast about it. And so I know Iron Fist is old news. You guys probably talked about it weeks ago, but I just finally finished it, partially because I've been watching Twin Peaks so much, but also because it was a very tough pill to swallow. But I did make it all the way through the bad kung fu and tried to find some enjoyment out of it. And we recorded a podcast, and it's gonna be on iFanboy later this week. You can go check it out on iFanboy.com, like on Wednesday or Thursday. But then The Get Down is on Netflix, which is the first season of that. Me and my girlfriend loved. And we got all excited to watch the new season finally, and it was not very good. So Netflix has kind of been striking out for me, unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, I've been watching Twin Peaks, as you might have guessed, but also starting to catch back up on The Handmaid's Tale. In fact, we got caught up right before this Wednesday, and they come out every Wednesday with a new one. So now I'm one episode behind, but that is the first Hulu original that I've watched, and I haven't watched them all, so I know there's a couple other out there that may be this way. This is the first Hulu original that I've watched where I felt like I'm not watching Hulu, I'm just watching a show. This isn't Hulu's attempt to make something good. I'm not constantly thinking about that like I was with 11/22/63.
Right.
But I'm just watching a show that could be on HBO, FX, etc.
I loved 11/22/63. I loved it.
Oh boy. Did you read the book?
No.
Okay. All right. I guess half a loaf is better than the book's great. Book's great. Book was very,
I thought
very
it was
good.
fun. I thought it was great because the reason why I liked it, and I'm not watching Handmaid's Tale, or Handmaids or whatever it's called, although it's on our list, me and my girlfriends, to watch it. But are they releasing it like a week at a time, an episode, or did they dump the whole thing at once?
No, they put 4 episodes out right at the beginning. Sound familiar?
Yep.
And then they put it on a weekly schedule on Wednesdays.
Great. I prefer the weekly schedule. I'm anti-dump the season at once.
Crazy. Are you anti-buy the whole novel at once? Do you just want all novels split?
He prefers all of his Dickens to be serialized as intended originally.
That's how it was originally was. No,
it was.
I love serialized entertainment because it's a combination of I feel no pressure to watch 13 hours of bad kung fu like I did with Iron Fist, right? It comes out a week at a time, so you got 7 days to watch it on your own schedule, and then you could talk about it leading up to the next one and speculate. I like getting TV in that sequential order. I may call me old-fashioned, but space it out a little. Don't give me, because then you don't know what people know, your spoilers, all that sort of stuff. It just gets very difficult to navigate.
Yeah, what's interesting is we're tinkering with the idea that there are certain movies and television shows, or I guess television shows, that get a significant increase in perceived quality when they're binged. And for example, did you watch Westworld week over week, or did you watch it binge through?
Week over week.
And what was your general impression with season 1 of Westworld?
I liked it a lot, but I predicted everything that happened.
Right. And that's what I've heard from everyone who watched it week after week, because right at the beginning, you had a lot of free time for everyone to put together their pet theories. And of course, they're right. And as a result, there were no surprises and it was a dull experience. Compare that to somebody who binges Westworld, where it's like you don't even have time to really ask yourself who the Man in Black is before all of a sudden you get, an awesome reveal of who he is, So there's that.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the show for sure.
It does. But also, I like to go outside. and
there's your problem, Brian.
That's your problem right there, sir.
I mean, I like to go see bands. I like to go play pinball. I like to go to movies. And I actually don't. And partially because I live with someone who likes to go to bed at 10 o'clock, and so it's. Sitting in front of the TV for 4 hours isn't something that I can carve out in my life at this point. And so then I feel immense pressure by my friends like you, Brian, who have watched everything. And oh my God, wait till you get to episode 9. And I'm like, I'm on episode 2.
Yeah. I got to wait 7 hours like it's a tantric lovemaking session before I finally get some joy out of this thing.
Let me tell you, though, this is the Ron Richards who, back when I first met him, every television show that I could think of, he's like, oh yeah, I watched that. I think of you as the man who has encyclopedic television knowledge.
Well, I've been watching it for a very long time, Tom. I have. Because I like to absorb it and then take it inside and know it all. I'm trying to watch as much as I can, but time has become my enemy in my life.
Well, because I know that's true for us too, especially right now when a bunch of the shows that we like to watch are out. I am a week behind on The Leftovers. I did catch up on it. I am caught up on American Gods, but I know Brian's behind on that. It's just impossible, if you do want to do anything else with your life, to watch all the shows that you want and keep up to date on them. You just can't do it all.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier, where there's too. Also, it's a combination of there's too much, which is a good thing. We have an embarrassment of riches, right, in terms of what we have. But there's so much, and what happens is stuff comes out so fast that I see a series, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to watch that. And I by the time I get to it, it's old news, it's passé. I've forgotten about it. I don't even get a chance to watch it. And so that's why this is actually my favorite time of year, because I just finished watching The Flash. I think I've got 2 more episodes left of Arrow. I'm getting all the broadcast TV out of the way and getting all ready to dive into the stuff that I missed, that I can binge, that I can go, kind of build up from there and watch and, kind of catch up this summer. Hopefully, we'll see. But that's challenged with the fact that it's nice weather out and I want to go outside. So.
Brian, what have you been watching these days?
Oh, a lot of the usual suspects. Better Call Saul, Fargo, Justified. I did get all the way caught up on The Leftovers, so I'm 1 week ahead of you on that. I am continuing to wait so I can binge through a whole bunch of American Gods all at once. Although maybe I'll do that this week. We'll play catch up next week. And I did watch on HBO that HBO original with Robert De Niro, The Wizard of Lies, the Bernie Madoff story. Did you watch that, Ron?
No, it's on my list. There have been many subway posters for that in New York City, and it's like, oh, De Niro doing Madoff. And I heard he's great in it.
He very believably plays a very boring man. And so I don't know. It was a little bit all over. There's a full-on silly moment in there. There's some wacky dream. There's like whatever. There's a wacky drug-fueled hallucination 5-minute chunk that I'm like, okay, what? All right. This seems a bit wacky for this story. But makes me feel bad for everyone. Like there's nobody that you can feel good for in the reality or in the movie. Pretty rough.
I'm hoping that there's a cameo from the Wilpons in it.
Wait,
so those are the owners of the Mets who got screwed in the whole Ponzi scheme by Madoff. And,
got it. No, there's no shortage of those for sure, man.
Bryce Castillo, what have you been on the lookout for?
Hey guys, I this past week I got really addicted with an Amazon original / co-production called Catastrophe. Have you guys seen Catastrophe yet?
Yes, that's great.
It's fantastic. It stars and is written by Rob Delaney, who you might know from Twitter, and Sharon Horgan, who you might remember from the increasingly bad decisions of Todd Margaret. The premise,
I love Todd Margaret.
Yeah, the premise kind of reminds me of You're the Worst a little bit on FX. It's two sort of mean people kind of who end up falling in love for each other after not a 1 night but a 6-night stand in England, and when she gets pregnant from that Rob has to decide if he wants to move to England to stay with her and be a father or not. Spoiler alert. And it's fantastic. I think what makes
spoiler alert, it's more than 1 episode long.
He says no, and it was a short
and that's that.
That's
shortest
Catastrophe. What I really dig is the dialogue. I think it is incredibly complicated in the way that human relationships are, right? It's not necessarily set up in the way of like a romantic comedy where it's like, oh, you did the thing, I'm breaking up with you, and then we're gonna get back together, and it's more nuanced and unspoken than that, and I think it comes across really, it feels really real in a way that other relationship shows don't. And also, I just love the sense of time. The very beginning of the show is them in this 6-night stand. It is immediately into it, and then there are other things later on in the series that just skip time. They say stuff. The thing you saw something happen. Here's where they are now, and you fill in all the pieces. I think it's really fantastic. Here's the one thing about Catastrophe. It's if you live out depending on where you live, I don't have an answer for where you can watch it. In America, you can watch it on Amazon Instant Prime Video with the Prime subscription. In the UK, it's on Channel 4, but you might be able to see it on Amazon Prime Video. In Australia, I've seen that ABC broadcasted it, as well as in Soho, on the Soho service in New Zealand. So you may have to do a little bit of searching if you're outside of the US.
mean like all television shows up into the last couple of years? It's available from a different provider in every country.
Yeah, that's right.
Check your local listings, people.
Exactly. But that's...
Go on down to the store, buy a copy of TV Guide, open up to
I
that
just get it out of my
grid.
daily newspaper that's delivered to me by a boy on a bicycle.
And there's three seasons of 6 half-hour episodes. It's an English show, so it's a shorter season sort of deal.
If you got something we should be on the lookout for, be sure to email us, cordkillers@gmail.com. Thank you, Bryce. Brian, you've been roguing around in a modern way. Tell us more about that.
Heck yeah, man. Dude, it's been the best thing ever. We're now 9 months into this crazy experiment called The Modern Rogue. We launched the channel in September. We are now at just shy of 310,000 subscribers, and I could not be more proud of the content that we're putting out. This week, a brand new episode where we talk about credit card skimmers. Fun fact, you could buy credit card skimmers on Amazon for $50. Even more fun fact, next to it, it says frequently bought with this is an encoder and a card laminator printer.
Sense.
So it's like it's the complete all-in-one fraud shop right there. I guess that or card duplication, maybe there's plenty of legitimate needs for it. At any rate, it's a fun show. If you haven't, please subscribe. Head on over to The Modern Rogue. That's youtube.com/Modern Rogue.
All right, let's move on to the front lines.
Front lines.
Netflix posted on Twitter to Ellen DeGeneres, "Looks like it's been 15 years since you did a stand-up special. How about one for Netflix?" And Ellen replied, "Let me think about it." Okay, I'm in. I'm sure they had never talked about it before that moment. But
yeah, I mean, I've got to wonder. Yeah. I mean, there's part of me that wants to believe this kind of thing really could happen that way, you know? Like whoever's in charge of the Netflix account just, you know, his job is to stir up trouble and, you know, be jovial, right?
In an official statement written suspiciously soon after that, Ellen said she's writing the show now and will let folks know where and when it will be recorded. But yeah, I mean, Netflix has just stolen the thunder with stand-up comic specials. They have everybody now.
Well, and mainly because they have favorable terms that benefit the talent, the beloved characters that make this thing possible. I mean, now they've made themselves one of the most premier, most sought-after things. Ron, can you speak to the behind the scenes? Is there any chance this really was spontaneous?
No, not at all. But I'm guaranteed that there are millions of people who believed it.
I think you're right.
Guaranteed, and I envy them. I envy them.
Speaking of Netflix will not give Baz Luhrmann's The Get Down another season. It's unusual for Netflix to cancel shows, especially after only one season. And when I read that, I was like, I thought there were 2 seasons, but did they break it up into 2 parts?
They broke it up into 2 parts, similar to like The Walking Dead, where there was a part 1 and part 2. And I think there's a couple of things going on here. One, it cost like $120 million. Like, if you know Baz Luhrmann, he's not a cheap director. He doesn't. They don't really do things on frugally there, and so he exceeded the budget, blew it out of the water. But like I said earlier, the part 2 of season 1 is not off to a good. It's not as good as part 1 was. And
the critique around Hollywood though is that Netflix spends too much on their shows, right? Yeah. So you have to spend a lot to get Netflix to go, that's too much money, we're not giving you another season. My guess it's partly that. You're right. If he goes way over budget, then you just get upset. And you're like, look, we gave you a generous budget and you went over. Come on. But also the data not showing that it got enough attention from the right people to retain people. I mean, that's all. Netflix doesn't care if they spend a lot of money on something that not many people watch, as long as the right people watch it. And my guess is that wasn't the case.
And what's funny is that this came out within the same week or like a week or 2 after Stranger Things. And if you rewind the clock this time last year, everyone was predicting The Get Down to be the next big thing, and Stranger Things took off. And I think that kind of is a mix in there as well, too, is that I don't see people weren't wondering where The Get Down was when it ended. So,
yeah, man, The Get Down, I'm really surprised that I petered out so quickly on. I really tired of the all over the map styles. It was like, is this a melodrama? Is it a comedy? Is it a coming of age story? And also, are we using film grain, video effects, actual film grain, digital film grain on top of the actual film grain? You know.
Did you watch? Have you watched any part 2 yet, Brian?
No.
Oh, so throw into the mix part 2. They introduced some really bad animation.
Ooh, yeah, about that. Yeah. All right, yeah.
A survey from the American Customer Satisfaction Index has found that water is considered wet by most people. I'm sorry, I mean cable operators and ISPs are last place with an average customer satisfaction rating of 64%. That's down 1.5 percentage points for cable. If anything that's surprising, it's that cable got even less satisfactory, I guess. Wireless carriers, however, are stunning in that they improved 3 points to 73% satisfaction. A few of the other numbers in here. Comcast was near the bottom at 58% satisfaction, down 6 points. Just above Mediacom, another smaller cable provider, at 56%. So they weren't the worst in the survey. Verizon Fios was the top of the television services, but only at 71%. The top ranked overall industries, just for comparison's sake this year, were makers of televisions and video players at 87%, and soft drink makers at 84%. So we're very satisfied with the things we're looking at, and the things we're drinking while looking at them, but not with the people who are getting the television into the house.
To be honest, almost all these numbers sound intuitively correct for me. I wonder how much of the dissatisfaction with cable is less with the legendarily poor service that everybody gets with their local monopoly cable. But on top of that, I would imagine that there's a lot of people who haven't paused to think about how they feel about just the process of watching television on cable. And maybe some of that downvoting that they're doing is just straight up like, you know what? I don't like memorizing 4-digit channels and times that I have to show up for them or whatever.
I can go onto Netflix and type in a show title and watch it. Why can't I do that on this box that you've rented me? Yeah.
I think you overestimate people's reaction. I think everybody. I think the set-top boxes and the guides and things like that are fine. I know that on FiOS HGTV is 665, and that's fine. I know that. I think it just takes one. We're gonna come fix your cable between the hours of 10 and 1, and then they never show up. It takes one time for that to happen for you to be like, I will never approve of this company ever again.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Nielsen's numbers show 92% of those older than 18 watch television on, get this, a television. And 82.1% of total minutes of TV watched last year were watched on a TV. Computers, phones, and tablets made up less than 8% of total viewing time. You know what this reminds me of, Tom? This was, 4 years ago. It was easy to assume the whole world was watching everything on TiVo, offline viewing, and streaming services or whatever. But then you got the actual numbers, and it turns out the vast majority were watching live and television. I think what we're seeing is the relaxing of the live part, but holding on to the TV part.
Yeah, I also think this is hey, right now it's still mostly TV, and I'm very curious if that 8% number rises and how fast it rises.
Well, and also, is this this is also, we don't know exactly how it was phrased. I wonder if they're looking for a number of people.
Well, this is Nielsen, so it's just it's not like calling you on the phone. It's monitoring.
Right, but specifically, I bet like the question I have is, did they say, do you primarily watch on ATV or mobile? Because we've seen some
they're counting the minutes. They're like monitoring you.
Got it. Okay.
So it's a little more scientific than just responding and telling them.
I think this
Ron,
is interesting.
You look puzzled.
I think this is interesting because everything that I've read or everything that I've been led to believe is that the millenniums just watch on their laptops. And, TV sales are down and they don't even need. But, I think given the opportunity to sit on a couch and watch a TV, everyone would rather do that.
Well, this is another reason to remember it's Nielsen. Millennials watching YouTube don't show up here.
Good point.
Oh, that is a good point. So there is some bias. Yeah, the company that measures TV watching comes back saying a lot of people watch TV.
Yeah, I mean they measured TV watching if it was a major broadcaster, right? Sure. They measured that, but watching a YouTube video or Vimeo or any of that doesn't count.
Yeah.
You may have been wondering what happened to that whole Jon Stewart thing, Jon Stewart's HBO deal. He had a 4-year deal to create animated shorts on HBO. It was supposed to be in time for the election. It never happened. They finally issued a joint statement saying technical issues in terms of production and distribution that proved too difficult given the quick turnaround and topical nature of the material are at fault. HBO and Stewart said in their statement they're working to develop new projects, which you'll be hearing about in the near future. So Stewart and HBO are still planning to do something, but it's just not going to be this animated thing because they couldn't figure out how to turn it around fast enough.
Yeah, also relevant news, not mentioned in the article, are Trey and Matt of South Park shaking their heads disappointedly.
I was just going to say, couldn't they just hire people who worked at South Park?
Yeah.
But I'm curious. I bet Jon Stewart was like, I want to write something this morning, record the voiceover this afternoon, and you put it on air tonight. And that's something I don't think South Park could even turn around.
I don't know. They could do it. I don't know. In fact, Justin, Robert Young, and I were talking about doing a comedy series of purely based on what was trending because South Park is remarkable for how quickly, what was it, 5 days after Saddam Hussein gets caught, they have him singing and dancing in character for the whole musical they've created. And the time lag is itself remarkable and shaped the experience. So it's I wonder if the moment I've postulated that a comedy series, an animated comedy series, something that's super easy and fast to make would be amazing if it were able to provide commentary essentially exactly at the moment people even found out about the news item.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe that's what they were trying to do, and they just couldn't get her done.
Yeah.
But I wonder why, because I would imagine with a stock library of animations, I mean, you run the risk it can either be like not piss poor, but just like not impressive animation, but out that day. Like I wonder if they got to bring the quality measure down.
Or maybe they didn't want to have the XKCD of animations, and so yeah. You got that last one, Brian.
Yep. Sorry, I tapped aside and then got lost and then coughed. And now my secret shame is known for all, and I've taken 10 seconds to tell it. Twitter updated its Apple TV app to include support for Periscope's global map and the ability to watch live 360-degree videos. Viewers use the Apple TV remote to navigate the 360-degree videos. Man, oh man, I even forgot that 360 videos was a separate thing. There's so many choices, gentlemen.
Too many. All right, let's move on to some dispatches from the front. Dean is an American living in America with an American debit card and accounts that were all set up without anonymization. You'll find out why that's important to know. You're like, well, I would usually assume that, but here's why. Just got DDWRT set up on a new router so I could run OpenVPN and anonymize my traffic without breaking things like Google Cast and Wi-Fi Direct by running VPN clients on individual machines. Now, if that all sounds like gobbledygook to you, basically, he's using a virtual private network to protect his privacy. He said, I'd forgotten, however, that Hulu and Amazon Prime are blocking proxies and VPNs with startling aggression. While my Netflix still works, it's only a matter of time for that one as well. I'm wondering what the logic is to so aggressively blocking VPNs, especially on accounts that have all the markers of being American except a verifiable IP address. I typically use a Florida server. Am I expected to give up the only thing really protecting my online privacy and my data just because Hulu and Amazon Prime want to use a butcher's knife instead of a scalpel to solve their imaginary VPN problem? Yes. Yes, that last line you wrote there, Dean, accurately sums up the situation. The logic, if other people don't get it, I have a feeling Dean understands this, is that Hulu says, look, if you appear to be from America, but you're using a VPN, we're going to assume that you're not in America, that you're somewhere outside of America, and we don't have a license to stream video to people outside of America. And if the people who we're paying to license their shows find out that our customers aren't in America, then they will pull that license. We'll be in breach of contract. So it is incumbent upon us to stop people outside of America from watching these shows because we don't have the right to show them. And so we're going to assume if you're using a VPN, even though it appears you're in America, that you're not. And yes, that kicks out a bunch of people who are overseas who are pretending to be America with a VPN, and maybe they even have figured out how to have American credit cards and all of that. But it also kicks out all the legal people like Dean who are just trying to protect their security.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what you're seeing now is, I believe, the crest, about as far as anti-VPN. I think that's all the juice they have in the tank. And of course, they're doing this to please their investors, to please their licensees, to please all those folks. But we now, I think over the last couple of years, have seen a real swell of interest in privacy securing technologies like VPN. All of a sudden, you could mention VPN and mixed company and have a reasonable assumption that people understand, oh, that's the thing that makes it to where your local ISP doesn't know where you're surfing and all that stuff. I think we're going to see it ebb back, and we're going to see less, or either that or there'll be a list of VPNs that are willing to take on, basically, hey, we're a VPN and we have a partnership with Amazon. Amazon knows when it's one of our servers that we make sure that if you say you're in the U.S., you start from the U.S., and therefore you're going to be able to get the thing. Ron is shaking his head. You don't believe it?
Never gonna happen. Never gonna happen.
Yeah,
they are not gonna play. The overlords at Amazon and at Hulu and all this sort of stuff see VPNs as tools of people breaking their licenses, and they're never gonna see it another way. And the moment that you have a VPN that has an agreement with Amazon, that's an opportunity for your privacy to go away, because what is the VPN telling Amazon about you? The whole point of the VPN is to protect that privacy and whatnot. I just think I think that the content companies are going to take such a bullheaded stance on it that I mean, it would be nice to see that happen, but I just don't think so. I mean, this actually reminds me a lot. We were talking on my other show and All About Android about how Netflix is blocking rooted Android devices now.
Interesting. Oh, I gotta feel at some point there's enough pressure, enough negative press about how the unfair way they're treating VPN people as second-class citizens when really their only crime is trying to protect their own privacy.
It's not Netflix and Amazon, in my opinion. It's not. You guys, I think that's everybody's like, oh, so Netflix is mad at me for you. No, Netflix doesn't give a crap you're using a VPN. Amazon doesn't give a crap you're using a VPN. In fact, Amazon would love to sell you a VPN if they could. What the problem is that the content provider says, look, I'm charging this guy over in Europe a bunch of money and guaranteeing that he is the only one who gets to stream that in Europe. If Europeans can use a VPN to get it off of Amazon from the US, he is going to sue me. He is not going to pay what I want, at the very least, and then I'm going to sue you. It's the content providers who are trying to maintain regionalization in a world that is fastly becoming less regionalized because of the internet that are the problem here.
Yeah, this is the streaming equivalent of regionalized DVD players all over again. Yeah. That's purely what it is. It's because of these agreements. It's because of these licensing agreements that are built around geographical borders and their need to protect those borders. It's almost like how you need to get a copyright in order to defend yourself from someone else taking it, like that sort of thing. Where they have a deal to show something in Germany. It can only they're paying someone to do it in Germany. They don't want someone in Germany to go to the U.S. to a Florida server and watch it and get around that. I agree. I don't think the content providers care at all. I think it's the people they do business with, and it's crappy. But yeah, it totally is the case.
A perfect lead into our next email from Nikki, who says, "I finally did it. I cut the cable. I still had to keep the phone to keep my modem free for my internet. Keeping the phone makes my bill $85 versus $89, but it's $156. Now comes the next step. What services do I want to go with? So in June, I'm doing PlayStation. July might be Sling if PlayStation doesn't work out. August will either be YouTube or Hulu, leaning more towards YouTube if it gets to Omaha. My question about these services is which is geo-locked to the home and which ones aren't. My daughter's quite used to watching Hulu and YouTube when at work, or her dad's, which is all in the same city. Do we have any information on these two, and if they have TV options that can be watched out of the home?"
Sling is the best at this. When I log into Sling, when I'm up, like I was just in San Francisco over the weekend, Sling's like, hey, just switched to San Francisco. Saw you were in San Francisco. So here you go. No worries. Watch it wherever you want. You're good. PlayStation View is the worst of these. The workaround with PlayStation View is you can use your PlayStation View login to log into the network apps and watch those on mobile. But the PlayStation View app itself is almost worthless outside of your own house. Hulu seems to be pretty good. I haven't run into any problems with it outside the home yet. YouTube TV, as you mentioned, if it doesn't come to Omaha, it's of no use to you. YouTube TV's problem is it's only in a few markets right now.
Right, and it does do, similar to Sling, it does do the detection. Hey, I see you're in San Francisco. Like when I'm in New York, I get all the New York channels. When I was in San Francisco, I got the San Francisco channels.
Yeah,
that's all.
As long as you're in they're only in 5 markets. But if you're one of the 5 markets, then that's great.
Right. Maybe you should consider moving to San Francisco.
Yeah, there you go, Nikki. We also got Joe, who wrote in and said, as one that lives just slightly out of reach of high-speed broadband, I use a 4G wireless router in the house. With limited bandwidth, but still having a household of people fighting for the bits, I was curious if you could point me to streaming services that best accommodate this. My personal anecdotal experience is that Netflix is the best, as it seemingly buffers and down-reses to fit the stream without ever a hiccup for me. YouTube is second best, as it allows me to several different resolution options that I can pick manually if I experience trouble. Hulu is next, as it is usually consistent but very limited options for resolution changes. Crackle, same as Hulu. Vudu is the worst. Always defaults back to HD resolution and tends to freeze up when I switch to standard def. And even at standard def, I have to disconnect every cell phone, game device, and computer from the network to stream. Joe, your experience pretty much mirrors mine, with the added caveat that Amazon allows you to download for offline viewing, as does Vudu, on a laptop or a mobile device. So that's a workaround here. But yeah, when you're on a Roku, you don't get that option to download for local viewing. So Vudu is actually one of the worst for streaming in a bandwidth constrained situation. But because you can download it, it's actually great on a laptop or mobile device. So maybe you could Vudu and then Chromecast to it or something like that.
Yeah, but I'll say that your experience exactly mirrors mine as well.
Doesn't YouTube have auto resolution, auto detection? It depends, I guess, which app you're using. I mean, I'm always using YouTube with the Android app and Chromecast, and I can set it to auto from there. So,
yeah, correct. Lisa writes in, with the arrival of American Gods on Stars, I decided to try the service with their 7-day free trial. I quickly decided that there was nothing else on Stars that I cared about watching. Also, their Android app provided a really poor experience, so I decided to take Brian's advice and look at this logically. I have no great need to watch this series live. I canceled Stars. Instead, I'll wait until it's offered for purchase. I might have to wait a year. Oh well, as you both often point out, there's plenty of fun stuff to watch in the meantime. Been a fan and supporter since the beginning. Love the show. I gotta tell you, yours, Lisa, is the most logical of all options and reactions. Also, the rarest. The ability to delay gratification is the rarest and most precious of capabilities for a consumer.
You find then, in those situations, like I don't want to wait. Like I don't want to wait that year. Like I just want it to come, But Stars does have the Pixar movie Inside Out, and that's why I signed up for Stars.
Ha!
Ryan in Beverly, Massachusetts says, talking about ESPN for sports is almost like talking about MTV for music. While ESPN has a lot of shows about sports, they don't actually air that many games. I'm fully against them counting eyeballs in bars towards their numbers. Most bars have ESPN talk shows on throughout the day that no one's actually watching, because really, what else are they going to put on when there are no local sports games playing? I think that stacking the numbers like this will give them leverage to keep charging their obnoxiously high fees, which will in turn keep all of the cable rates and potentially streaming services high. I love your show and never miss an episode, but whenever there's a sports question and you guys bring up ESPN, I cringe. I'm a huge sports fan, and I wouldn't even notice if someone removed ESPN and all of its channels from whatever service I was paying for at the time.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you're not wrong, but also ESPN, if anything, this is a testament to the power and reach of ESPN that I would say I've never on purpose sought out, I'm not going to say never, in the last couple of years, I've almost never sought out on purpose any kind of sports information, and yet it is astonishing the amount of sports, just general crap going on that I know, and it's 100% from these things being on in bars. So to say that you shouldn't count those eyeballs, I disagree, because it's a fact that I've consumed hours and hours and hours of ESPN, and granted, a lot of it has been just by reading the closed captioning as it's on at the gym or whatever, and those are real eyeballs, and I definitely saw that Miller Lite ad right as I was deciding what beer to order at that bar, and I could see Ron shaking his head.
I don't buy it, because then you got to let Headline News count the eyeballs in the airport, and those are eyeballs I want to stab my own eyeballs when Headline News is on in the airport.
I'm
but
okay
it doesn't
with
matter.
that.
This is not about whether you like what you're seeing. Did you see the ad? And that should be counted.
I hate
and to
viewer.
This person's point, if that ad is counted, ESPN can make more money off the ad, and it's the opposite of what he's saying in his email. That means they've got more money coming in that doesn't rely on subscription fees, which actually takes the pressure off, which could lead to them lowering the subscription fee amount.
They'll never do that.
No, but he's arguing that having more people seeing the ads in bars will somehow raise the subscription rate, and that's not true.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't change the fact that he's absolutely right that ESPN is a sinking ship, and it's at the point now when I see the Mets, the Mets are on ESPN,
ship,
I turn it off.
I'm gonna take the tactic of a sports talk radio man. Let's stop you right there, Ron. Sure, sinking ship, but it hasn't sunk. 2.26 million viewers in prime time in Q1 2017. That's a lot of people watching what this guy claims is nothing, okay?
Hi, Tom. First time, long time. Listen, I think ESPN just gets a bad rap, man. They're really working hard. I think if they really care and if they get out there and they commentate better than the other channels, I think they've got a chance to win this thing.
Look, you know what? I appreciate your dedication and your enthusiasm for your team, Brian. Thanks for calling.
I want to make a Mike Francesa joke, but I don't want to go there. So.
No, I mean, I think Ryan is bringing up a good point about ESPN being a sinking ship. I don't think the logic follows that having it on in bars somehow raises the subscription price. But I brought up that rating amount because you can cringe all you want when we bring up ESPN, but it is still the number one watched sports channel for whatever reason.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, for the same reason that Coca-Cola and Pepsi are the number one selling beverages, and that doesn't mean they're good for you.
Yeah.
Right. In fact,
I don't
actually,
watch
they
a lot of
ruin your
ESPN,
teeth.
but whenever I turn it on, they've got something on. It's just not something. I think that's what Ryan's saying is like, it's not even just that they're talking head stuff. It's like, wow, this is collegiate baseball. Maybe you're not into that. Or this is, this is NCAA basketball. Maybe you're not into that. So, yeah.
Well, I find it amazing that their need to innovate and their need to be the #1 sports network or whatever has actually driven me away from them because, I mean, have you watched a baseball game on ESPN lately? It's unwatchable.
Oh the Sunday Night Baseball stuff that they do. Yeah. It's not. I miss Joe Morgan. That's how bad it is.
Yeah. That shows how really bad it is. But
I mean, look, do me a favor, guys. Wake me up when esports is the most popular form of sports entertainment.
You may not have to sleep that long. I'll be honest.
I know.
It's showing up.
Guys.
All right. Thank you, Ron Richards, for joining us as always. Where can folks find more about iFanboy, Damn Fine Podcast, and all the fine things you are doing online?
Yep. Go to ifanboy.com for comic books, comic book TVs, movies, all that fun stuff. ifanboy.com. It's a great time. We're there every week, every Sunday with a new podcast. And damnfinepodcast.com for all your Twin Peaks fun times. New episodes every Sunday. All About Android, my other show, every Tuesday on the Twit Network with Jason and Flo, talking about Android devices. And you can follow me on Twitter at RonXO, where I talk about those shows and other nonsense and love and adoration for Mr. Met.
Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We do not condone the New York Mets. We're live on diamondclub.tv Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Go Cardinals. We'll see you next week.
Smooth. I don't think anyone caught that. Hey, guys. Tom and Brian here. We just wanted to say thank you to all of our $5 patrons who keep us loud, live, and independent. You guys make Cordkillers the production that it is.
Your name appears in the video credits and appears in our hearts. And if you'd like to become one of them or see who they are, you can go to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
You'll need to do more than just go there, though. You'll have to sign up and, pledge an amount. But
unless you just want to see who they are.
Well, I mean, you could gawk. That's a little creepy, isn't it?
If you want to be a gawker,
let's go.
Up to you.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.